So today we're going to deconstruct a really powerful and often totally invisible psychological system, dependency looping. We're going to map out the cognitive blueprint that can make leaving a harmful situation feel not just difficult, but biologically impossible. And this isn't just about feelings, right? We're talking about a fundamental hijacking of our most basic survival instincts.
The most striking truth about dependency looping is that it doesn't function by breaking your will, it functions by making your will feel like a biological liability. You know, we all just assume that if a situation is harmful, the logical thing to do is leave. But in these high-pressure dynamics, your own biological drive for safety and regulation gets completely turned against you. It's used to turn a really painful bond into a kind of psychological life support system.
And that, right there, brings us to this absolutely central, kind of terrifying question. Why do you feel like you are physically dying at the thought of walking away from someone you know is hurting you? This is the core paradox of what's called attachment inversion. That precise moment, your survival instinct becomes the very mechanism of your own psychological capture. It's a really profound experience, and it's right at the heart of what we're going to unpack today.
So yeah, let's put that question right out there front and center. Why does leaving feel like dying? And look, for anyone who's ever been through this, you know this isn't some kind of exaggeration. It's a real, visceral sensation, a full-body panic that feels like a threat to your very existence. What we're going to do in this explainer is give you the language and the framework to understand exactly why that is, to move from that confusion to real clarity.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we've got our roadmap. First, we'll dig into how our own survival instinct can be turned into a cage. Then, we're going to define the loop itself and its key pieces. After that, we'll break down the specific mechanics used to create this capture. We'll look at the psychology that's driving it all, before we move to some practical tools for awareness, and finally, we'll talk about how to reclaim that instinct for yourself.
All right, first up, survival instinct as a cage. And this really is the foundational paradox we need to understand. The very system in your brain that's designed to keep you safe, your attachment system, your fight or flight response, it gets hijacked. It's like it's been methodically recalibrated to believe that the source of your danger is also your only source of safety. It's a cognitive trap where running away feels way more dangerous than staying put.
And here's the absolute biological kicker. I really want to stress this. This has nothing to do with being weak or lacking willpower. It's about cognitive and neurochemical engineering. Think about it. When that person withdraws affection or creates distance, your body just gets flooded with the stress hormone cortisol. It's a state of intense anxiety and panic. It's a genuine withdrawal. Then when they come back, you get this massive flood of dopamine and oxytocin, those chemicals for reward and bonding. Your brain learns to code this chaotic roller coaster not as abuse, but as destined, passionate, soul-deep love.
Okay, let's jump into section 2 and actually give this thing a name. This step is so important. See, when you can't name the chaos, it's so easy for it to feel like you're the problem, like you're going crazy. The second you can name it, you take the first step from being a managed subject inside the system to an observer who can analyze it from the outside.
So the term we're using is dependency looping, but you probably heard its clinical name, traumatic bonding. It's a documented cognitive shift where a person becomes psychologically and often physically attached to the very person who is harming them. It's a bond that isn't built on mutual care at all. It's forged in this shared, intense, and really destructive cycle of tension and relief.
And it's so important to get that this dynamic isn't just about romantic relationships. You see it in high-conflict partnerships, where that intense makeup phase becomes the addictive reward for putting up with the conflict. You see it in enmeshed family systems, where a parent might create crises to stop a child from ever becoming independent. And it even happens in professional mentorships, where a mentor might convince a student that they have no chance of success without their unique guidance.
All right, let's break down the first core belief that really holds this loop together, the safety hook. This is that carefully manufactured belief that the controller is the only person on the planet who truly gets you. They basically set themselves up as the one and only expert on you. Any other perspective from friends or family gets framed as a threat, as them being ignorant or jealous. And what this does is create this powerful bubble, this social cage, where the controller is your only interpreter of reality and your only true safe harbor.
And that leads us right into the second pattern, internal fragmentation. This is that really profound, dizzying feeling. It's like an internal civil war. You've got the logical part of your brain saying, this is wrong, the evidence is all here, I need to leave, but at the same time, you're trapped in a panic-based body that's just screaming, I will die without them. This internal war is absolutely debilitating, and it's a hallmark of the loop. Your best qualities, your empathy, your loyalty, your desire for things to be consistent, they get turned into leashes.
So this really shows that fundamental shift that happens inside of you. You go from being this autonomous person, someone who trusts their own feet and their own judgment, to this state of what we're calling symbiotic reaction. In this state, your main goal isn't your own well-being or happiness anymore. Suddenly, your entire compass, your North Star, becomes about managing their feelings. You'll drop any real complaint, you'll forgive anything, just to make that world-ending panic of separation stop and get back to the relief part of the cycle.
So, how does this even happen? How is this state created? Well, let's get into Section 3, the mechanics of capture. It's so important to see that this usually isn't just random chaos. It's often a systematic, three-step process of behavioral management designed to redirect your own reasoning and deliberately chip away at your self-reliance.
Okay, first up is what's called strategic outsourcing. The controller helps with everything: money, social plans, big decisions. At first, it feels like they care so much, but it's the slow burn test of what you can do. Over time, you just kind of forget how to do things for yourself, and your confidence starts to fade. Then the whole thing shifts to the stress relief seesaw. This often happens with a specific phrase, like, "You'd be nothing without me." That triggers this deep panic, and all your energy instantly shifts from saving yourself to desperately trying to fix the relationship and get their approval back. And finally, the trap snaps shut with competence erasure. The controller creates a crisis, waits until you hit rock bottom, and then swoops in to save you. Your huge relief is then held up as absolute proof that you just can't handle the world without them.
So what's the end results of this constant cycle? It's a psychological state called relational hunger. Your brain's reward system gets literally physically rewired. A steady, peaceful, predictable relationship starts to feel boring, or empty, or like something's wrong. You become conditioned to think the intense highs and brutal lows of this chaotic bond are true passion or a deep connection. That very instability, that becomes the addiction your body starts to crave.
All right, that brings us to Section 4, the psychology of control. Why does this even happen? What motivates someone to do this? Well, it's often what's called a lock-and-key dynamic, where a controller's specific need for power and possession finds a perfect fit in a target's specific vulnerabilities, like a deep need for things in a relationship to be consistent.
This table really lays it all out side by side so you can see it clearly. On one side, you have the controller. Their motivation is often just absolute possession. Their goal isn't partnership, it's control of your nervous system. And their main tactic is intermittent reinforcement, giving you rewards unpredictably, like a slot machine, which is incredibly addictive. On the other side, you have the target. Their vulnerability is often a deep need for relational consistency. They might have been taught from a young age to value loyalty way more than their own safety. So their response becomes this desperate, all-consuming mission to just get back to that relief phase, no matter what it costs them.
Okay, so we've defined the system, we've looked at the mechanics. Now we're going to shift gears. Let's move into Section 5 and start building the first tools for awareness. This is where we move from just describing the problem to actually building some tools for awareness. And it starts with something called the emergency audit. This is all about recognition, not about blame.
And the foundation of this audit is just one really simple but powerful question. Who starts the fire versus who puts it out? Think about it. In a healthy relationship, problems come up and people work together to solve them. In a dependency loop, one person is consistently starting the fire. They create the crisis, the drama, the stress, and then they get to be the hero for putting it out. The whole point here is to help you see if what you've been calling love is actually something else entirely: rescue dependency.
So once you start to see that pattern, the next step is to develop what's called parallel reality awareness. And what that means is you quietly, intentionally do one thing, just one thing, that is totally independent of the controller and their knowledge. Open a secret bank account, even with just a little money. Take up a new hobby that you don't tell them about. Make a phone call to a therapist or a trusted friend. This one small act creates a tiny crack in that social cage, proving to yourself that a reality exists outside of their control. It's proof to yourself that your own agency is still there.
And this right here, this affirmation is the key. It's the key to that mental shift you need. Because what it does is it interrupts the central lie of the entire loop, which is that you have to feel ready or not be scared before you can actually do anything. The truth is, you're going to be scared. That panic is a real, conditioned biological response. This phrase lets you acknowledge the fear without letting it have the final say. It says, okay, the fear is valid, but it doesn't get the final vote.
All right, let's bring it all together in our final section, reclaiming your survival instinct. This is all about taking back that very system that was used against you and turning it back towards your own integrity, your own sovereignty, and your own well-being.
And that brings us to maybe the single most important takeaway from this entire conversation. If someone's presence in your life has made you feel like you cannot survive without them, that person is almost always the primary threat to your actual survival. Your emotional, your psychological, and sometimes even your physical survival. They have become the cage that calls itself comfort.
And this final insight, this is what can really help you find your way out. You have to understand, after all the chaos of the loop, real safety is going to feel, well, kind of boring. It's going to feel predictable. And that is a very, very good thing. It means your nervous system is no longer on high alert all the time. Learning to embrace the calm, steady predictability of genuine care is a huge part of healing. It's like learning to enjoy nourishing food after a long diet of just adrenaline and sugar. So, at the end of the day, the dependency loop gets broken the moment you realize you don't have to wait to feel brave. Your mind is your own private territory. Awareness is the key to making sure that no one else's need for control becomes a cage for your autonomy. The fear is real, absolutely, but your will to be free, that's realer. Walk through the fear.